Welcome on stage from Intercom, VP of Product Design, Thom Rimmer.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, I'm Thom. I'm the VP of Design at Intercom, and I'm here to tell you a story today of my last 3 years at the company and how we built the #1 agent for customer service. But probably more interestingly, how to do that, we completely reinvented the company from the ground up, how we tore up over a decade of history, of habits, of process, of structure, and we started completely all over again. And as a result, today, we have a far stronger company and a far stronger design team in general. But first, let's set some scene. So, what is Fin? So, Intercom is the company, Fin is the product that we build, and it's the #1 agent for customer service. Number one in terms of benchmarks, number one in terms of bake-offs. A lot of customers like do actual hard bake-offs between products to see which one's the best, and number one on G2, which is like a industry-wide independent assessor. About 7,500 customers, and those customers get about a 65% average resolution rate. And we consider a resolution as a question by the customer that comes in and it is fully answered to a satisfactory level by the bot without any human intervention at all. Uh, our customers only pay us if we get a resolution. So it's 99 cents per resolution. Fin can do tons of disambiguation. It can go back and forth lots of times. And if it still eventually hands off to a human, we don't get anything. So there's obviously a lot of cost involved in this. We're really tied to the value delivery of the product. Some customers get 85, 90% resolution rate. Intercom itself gets about 92. We are our own best customer, I guess. And that's incredible. Like in 2 years, we've gone from almost no automated customer support to almost all automated customer support. So Fin's one of the most powerful agents on the market, and it does that by integrating with more tools than any other agent, so either via MCP or via API, or with deep partnered integrations with people like Shopify and Stripe and Salesforce. And it's able to deliver complex tasks and procedures by integrating with those systems. And that could be things like fraud on a credit card in the fintech world. It could be canceling that card. It could be reissuing that card. And that could be things that would normally take one human, multiple humans. You could be passed around the department. Fin's able to do that fully autonomously without any human involved at all. And I actually had that experience myself last year. I was in Abu Dhabi and my card was used fraudulently. And I was able to resolve that in less than 5 minutes through a WhatsApp chat, which is incredible. Previously, I would have had to get on the phone at an offset time zone, call a call center, be passed around multiple people, wait for the card to be sent out to me. I had a tracking number for the card 5 minutes later on my WhatsApp, and that card was actually sent to me on holiday in Abu Dhabi rather than home. And that's an incredible experience. So Fin's been around for about 2.5 years now, and one of its keys to its success is how easy it is to get up and running. Like customers cycle through this OODA loop, so analyze, train, test, and deploy. And through that analyze, train, test, and deploy loop, they're able to continually surface new insights, like conversations that Fin's not able to get involved in, things that Fin doesn't understand about the business, like connections to systems that Fin needs to have. And they're able to improve that implementation. So their use of the product is getting stickier all the time, and their resolution rate's going up all the time. In fact, that resolution rate on average for our customers has gone up at least 1 percentage point every single month for close to 2 years now. And we continue to go up and to the right. Fin's been, like I said, around for about 2.5 years. And when we first set out to build Fin, we set out to build a replacement for the human customer service agent. And we think we're like fairly close to that today in a lot of cases, but we're not going to stop there. Like we think there's far more. And now we're going after pursuing like almost the holy grail of customer experience, that concierge type customer experience across the entire customer lifecycle. So some of our best customers, Whoop, the fitness bands, they're already deploying Fin to do a lot more than customer service. They're deploying Fin to close sales online. And Fin Close is better than a human, because Fin understands a lot more about your use of the product than that individual customer service agent could possibly get out of the notes on your account in 30 seconds while they're having that conversation with you. Finn knows all that context over its memory far better. So we believe that there's a huge opportunity there, and we believe the next frontier is to have a single agent that crosses the entire customer lifecycle with deep memory of all your interactions. But why build Finn in the first place? So Intercom, I am from Intercom. Intercom was founded well over a decade ago and was one of the pioneers in customer service. They created the little thing in the corner of every website that everybody loves to hate. Intercom was pretty successful before Finn. Hundreds of millions in ARR, about 35,000 customers, about 500 million messages a month went through the Intercom chat system. So why pivot and build a completely new product from the ground up? And actually, if you look at it on the surface, like a product that cannibalizes our SaaS seat revenue. So people pay for humans to sit inside the Intercom product. They pay a subscription every month. By not needing those humans, we're cannibalizing our own revenue. Why build something that we go ahead and do that? Like, we believed that we had to do it because we believed an existential risk existed for our company. And if we didn't build that product, we were on the slow road to extinction. Why? Because of the topic that everybody's here to talk about today, like the continued advancement of artificial intelligence, like the single biggest disruptive technology of our lifetime, like as big as the internet itself, I truly believe. And we believe that customer service, and a lot of other people believe that customer service will be one of the industries that will be turned upside down the most and probably the soonest. And we had such strong conviction on that because we saw such strong overlap. Like the things that human customer service teams do every single day are the things that large language models are actually pretty good at. Like knowing and finding the right answers to questions, writing thorough responses, summarizing information, chatting back and forth with customers in like a nice kind of human type way, and solving pretty basic rudimentary problems. They're the tasks that a human customer service rep does day in, day out. Like, how do I change my password? That kind of like menial thing. Like, they get asked that 100 times a day. And LLMs are great at all of those things. But they're also great at other things that humans can't do. So unlike a customer service team, large language models can speak any number of languages out of the box, north of 100 languages out of the box. They can also reply instantly. They can reply at scale. So on Black Friday or at the holiday period, they can scale up infinitely. As long as you're willing to pay the AWS cost, they can scale infinitely. And they can do that 24/7. Like humans go on holiday, humans come to conferences like this. There are customer service conferences. People take time off. Like Finn doesn't take time off, funnily enough. We don't give him like an annual leave policy. And we could see that we could create a fundamentally better experience for businesses, but also actually for their end users as well, their customers. The experience could be just so much more fundamentally better. But that would require building something completely new. And it's actually really hard to build something new when you're encumbered by a decade of history. So this is Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs famously created a totally separate team to work on the Macintosh. We had a separate building in San Francisco. You put a pirate flag on the roof. Your key card worked in one building or the other building. And he totally unencumbered them from any of Apple's process. He told them to rip up the rulebook, and he told them to have no bureaucracy, no business as usual. Wind the clock back 3 years, Intercom had a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of business as usual. Like a decade-old company grows a lot of processes. There's a meeting about a meeting that's happening next week with the people not in the meeting, and there's a document to make sure everybody knows what's happening in that meeting. That was like the reality of Intercom. There's a lot of process, a lot of habits that have been built up over time and just naturally grow and expand, and there's more people involved, and there's like consensus culture has to happen, and it's really hard to get things. Everybody knows, like a large organization, it's really actually hard to get shit done. We even wrote books. Like this is a book on how to bring product to market by Intercom, like a very predictable, stable, safe way of bringing product to market. But what got us there wasn't going to get us to where we are today, now in 2025. We were building something completely new, and we had to start all over again. So actually around this time, October, November time, 3 years ago, if you wind back the clock, ChatGPT was released to the world. And I'm sure everybody remembers that holy shit moment when you started playing with the product for the first time. We already had an AI team, like a pretty small, like 5 or 6 people, pretty small AI team, and working on some kind of like deterministic more bot flows or like neural nets in the background. So we were able to quickly react and launch some tiny features, what I would call like sprinkling of AI across your product. And you see this still out there today. There's lots of sprinklings of like AI badges and the little star and like the purple kind of gradient that appears everywhere. So we were able to do that pretty quickly. And that was mainly for like human efficiency gain. So a lot of humans in our product, they could just be more efficient. That might be like summarizing a conversation that had happened, or it might be translating or improving the grammar of the response, like efficiency of their response. But we could see that this was fundamentally better than anything we'd seen before. Like ChatGPT is really, really good at understanding natural language. Like we could see that that was so much better. And we kept asking ourselves, like, could a product like this just eliminate the need for the human in the first place? Like, could it just answer questions for customers overall? And when GPT-4 was released, I think that was about 2 or 3 weeks after ChatGPT. So ChatGPT was released on 3.5, I think, and then 4 came pretty quickly afterwards. It was an even stronger indication. That was a model that was specifically designed to reduce hallucinations. And it was obvious, I think, this was going to be a paradigm shift moment for the customer service industry. And Owen, it's a strange spelling of Owen, it's actually pronounced Owen. Owen, our CEO, made the call within a couple of days. It was literally a Friday, and then on a Monday, that we were going to go all in, and we were going to bet the entire company on a new AI product and start all over again. And then within a few days, we flipped that cruise ship upside down. So Intercom was about 1,500 people at the time. We completely flipped the company upside down. We flipped the strategy. We stopped working on everything that had been in our history of the company. And that's really hard to do in like a 1,500 person company. People sat around going, so what do I do now? Like you have to wait for the next instruction. And we went from a really stable, predictable. We had like a 24-month roadmap. People laugh now at the idea of like a 24-month roadmap for product delivery. Who knows what's going to happen in 24 hours, not 24 months. But we had like a 24-month roadmap with launch events booked in like theaters in places to do those launch events like this. It's crazy when you look back at it now. To a really short-term, like flexible roadmap, a roadmap that quite honestly was built on intuition more and like conviction for where the technology might go and what we might be able to unlock from the technology. Because we didn't know the product that we needed to build. Like we didn't know the product we needed in 6 months' time. We didn't know the product we needed in 6 weeks' time, really. But we had pretty strong opinions internally, like in the leadership team. And we could see a future that was fundamentally better and that we went all in on those convictions. But we remained pretty open to the idea that this was going to change. Like nobody knew what was coming. Everything was going to change. So we had to remain flexible as well. We used to work in a traditional product team in a SaaS company model. So like a PM, a designer, an engineering manager, 5 to 7 engineers, it's like a really common setup for teams, would own an area of the product. And they build up deep domain knowledge. They have a roadmap for that area of the product, and they would go and deliver on that roadmap. And they would build up a lot of empathy and a lot of insight to that area of the product. That kind of made no sense anymore because we weren't working on Intercom. We were working on, it didn't have a name at that time, Finn. We were building something completely new. So we blew that up altogether, and we moved the org chart to something that we called work streams. So work streams was our way of focusing the entire company and answering that question, what do I go and work on a one single list. It was in this Google document, it's blurred out for obvious reasons. One single list of things that we were going to work on as an entire company. One source of truth document that was stack ranked in priority order. Each work stream had one DRI, so directly responsible individual. Sometimes that was a PM. Sometimes that was actually an engineer, and sometimes it was a designer as well. I was a DRI for one of those work streams. And that DRI was fully accountable for the progress and outcomes of their work stream. Nothing else. There was no committee, there was no blurred lines, there was no consensus, 100% focus and one owner of that area. And then every 3 months, we would reassess that list of work streams, and we'd either extend them, we'd park them, or we'd pivot them. And that was all approved by one person in the company as well, our Chief Strategy Officer, Des, who's one of our founders. And if you were staffed on one of those work streams, you did nothing else. So you were exoled of all of the kind of requirements of working in a big tech company, like the huge performance round cycles and like performative things that you would have to do. You exoled of all of that. You didn't have to go and do any of that. You were 100% focused on that work stream. Some of those streams had 0 designers. Some of those streams had 1. Some had 5. That changed throughout the time of that work stream. It flexed with the shape of the work and the challenge that was ahead of us. That meant design couldn't just adapt, though. We had to completely reinvent ourselves from the ground up. And we made 4 key changes that I think not only drove the success of Thom, but has set us up to be in a far stronger position today and to be more impactful than we've ever been as a design team within a large technology org. So the first thing we did, was centralize the entire design team. So in that old SaaS world, design was really stable, really predictable. One team, one designer, deep expertise on their area. But with that shift to work stream, demand constantly moved. Like one week, no designers, 1 week, 5 designers, quite literally one day, no designers. Oh, we've unlocked some new capability. We need 3 designers now to go and work out what we can do with that capability. It flexed that often. So that broke that one-to-one designer to team model. So we centralized the entire team when we deployed our talent based on the stack rank priority list. So if we didn't have enough designers to hit the bottom 2 or 3 work streams, they didn't get a designer. Like the things above were considered more important, and there was a single list to say that that was more important. And that required quite a mindset shift by the entire design team. They no longer owned their mini kingdom, their mini kind of area of product. Everyone owned the entire experience because you were moving around so frequently. But the result was we had far more agility, far more speed, far more impact as a team by doing this. The second thing we did was consciously move from the idea of like abstract professional management to actually true product leaders. This was a really big shift. And honestly, might be a controversial thing to say, I still think there's a lot of the industry needs to go on this journey, like from the idea of professional management to becoming an actual product leader. Somewhere along the way, we got this idea of like being people first to being hands off. And we built a whole generation. I was part of that generation. I've been doing this for like 25 years nearly. I was part of the generation who were told to keep the team happy, stay pretty much away from the work, give some feedback, don't, God forbid, give direction. Like that's a scary word for a lot of teams. But the truth is, the work is the only thing that actually matters when everything boils down. And in a world where AI is now building product faster and faster than ever before, and it's been built by more people than ever before, like the breadth of the ability to build is now going wider and wider. Like a true great design, like great craft, real creativity, real attention to detail, I actually think that might be the last differentiator for a product. When everything commoditizes or everybody gets access to every model, at some point, the experience that sits on top is probably the only thing that matters in the end. Like, so harmony isn't leadership. Creativity, quality, and execution, that's leadership. And if you're not pushing for sharper ideas or bolder thinking, you're not leading, you're kind of just babysitting a team. You're on the sidelines, just ensuring they're all okay and moving forward and kind of moving in the slightly same direction. So managers at Intercom were converted to being leaders, design leaders. And they were in the work, setting the bar for what good looks like, challenging safe choices by teams, and that includes challenging their product partners and their engineering partners to think harder. And they were driving creativity, not protecting the process that they built their careers on before. Like psychological safety and direction don't have to be opposites. Like you can say to your team, this isn't good enough and we need to do this again, and still have trust. In fact, that's what real trust looks like. If you build up trust, you can actually have an honest conversation about whether work's good or not. And then the third thing we did is move from our old kind of model of very tightly defined design roles. Like Intercom's competency framework was often used and referenced by a lot of other companies for what it looked like to have a senior designer in this area and how they would progress to become a staff designer, a principal, a senior principal. Really like rigid competency frameworks. We moved to something that was way more adaptable, way more fluid, way more like generalist. We stopped referencing those frameworks. And in building thin, we demanded more people to be like what I call Swiss Army knife style designers, like sharp in craft, like quick to learn new things, and then ready to do anything that was put in front of them. And success came from their range of application, not from their rigidity to their competency framework that they were like ticking off when it came to performance review cycles. And we hired for those traits as well. We hired for really specific traits. Like we looked for people with an insatiable curiosity. We looked for people with a lot of unwavering conviction and an ability to plug in and elevate any team that they were put on because they were going to move around a lot. So they had to be able to get up and running really fast. We looked for people who were self-starters, like had a lot of agency, people who could collaborate, but when asked, they could also strike out on their own, and they could be a DRI. A lot of designers don't like being at the forefront, stepping forward and being like almost the mini CEO of their product area. We want designers to do that. I specifically want designers to be DRIs. The more designers that are DRIs, the better the product's going to be, in my opinion. And we had nobody sat on the sideline kind of waiting for the playbooks because we were writing a new playbook. The playbooks of the past no longer mattered. And then the fourth thing we did is move designers to being builders. Every single one of us, including me, became a builder. Every leader in the company became a builder. And most software teams still look like this today. There's a defined PM, there's a defined designer, any number of engineers. And while building Fin, and especially I think probably in the last 6 to 12 months, even more so, I've gotten stronger and stronger conviction that these days might be coming to an end, and that the future isn't individual roles that are held by PMs or designers or engineers, that it's more product people, it's builders. And the blurring of the boundaries between those roles is starting to exist in a lot of companies. And the disciplines that we relied upon, they were just quite honestly, they were constructs that we all made. Like we defined what a PM was, and we defined like the clear delineation between a designer and a PM. We all know the reality is there's tons of overlap there anyway, and always has been tons of overlap. But it's like, oh, I can't step on that person's toes because that's in their role, and they need to be able to prove that they've done this when it comes to performance review time. And I think AI collapses a lot of that scaffolding that used to exist, and the builders are what really matter now. And like, sure, like I'm sure I'll get a question like specialisms will 100% exist for a very long time to come. Like deep expertise, like front-end engineering, deep expertise in holding state and understanding security concerns, that will exist for a long time. But I think the vast majority of people in an org will look more kind of like a generalist hybrid role in the future. And earlier this year, we took steps towards that at the company. So I set a challenge to my team that everybody in my design org was going to ship code to production within 1 quarter. And with 1 week to spare, we all did it. And every designer had a dev environment set up. They merged their own PR. They left their mark on the actual product itself. They can see the real results of their work in the product. And on the surface, that's kind of arbitrary, like forced to ship a PR this quarter is kind of arbitrary. It's a bit symbolic. But the reality is it set a lot of foundations for the future. It's expanding design's influence, and it's expanding design's ability to have impact broader than just the Figma file or just the Miro board or the FigJam board. Like every line of code still went through code review. It's still peer reviewed by multiple engineers. Like nothing that didn't meet the bar was shipped to production. And since then, we've been exploring like tons and tons of different ideas, like new ways of working every single week. Designers are spending far less time doing what I call it painting pictures of the product that they wish they could build, like in Figma, beautifully painting pictures of the product, and you hand it off and then someone actually goes and build it. They're spending far less time doing that, far more time prototyping with intent. They're using AI to spin up multiple ideas in a single day to validate those ideas. Quite often we'll have designers who have a pretty high fidelity, high interaction fidelity, high data fidelity prototype on a call with a customer. They'll get off that call, they'll have learned something, they'll modify it and get on the next call in an hour's time, and they'll continue to validate. So they've got tens of iterations of that product really quickly. And they're able to do that across multiple tracks at the same time because the barrier to entry is so much lower now. We've put a lot of infrastructure in place, though, to enable this to happen. So as a team, we developed our own guidance for how to set up your dev environment that was specifically designed for designers. Ellie, one of our designers on my team, she actually then went and converted all this to a Mac OS script that automated the whole process. And now engineering is using that script because it turns out it's a lot easier for them as well to press one button on their desktop and all of a sudden their dev environment spun up and Docker's done and everything else is done around it rather than following this like manual process. We also have specific cursor rules that are set up for designers, and they don't prevent us from doing things in certain areas of the product, but they just highlight potential impacts of what we're doing. Intercom's about 3 million lines of code. It's pretty important to know that changing this one thing actually has a ripple effect in 27 other places, and you don't know that until you get a test build up, and then you can't find all those edge cases. So the cursor rules are designed to highlight that, and at some moments there might be like, there be dragons type things that you should probably loop this person in and get them to take a look at it. So it just helps aid the process, it doesn't prevent the process. But it's allowed us to do things that we couldn't do before. So our intercom.design website, we took it down about 2.5 years ago because we were embarrassed that we hadn't updated it in so long, because we couldn't justify the engineering resources to go and change that. We could design it, but we couldn't then get engineering on board with the idea we'll spend time building this website that it doesn't really have a great deal of purpose. It's just our home, like our place in the community. We relaunched it. 3 designers did it with a string of different AI tools, kind of loosely strung together from start to finish, including the deployment, without any engineers involved at all. We're We're now able to maintain this and update it ourselves. We're able to keep our presence in the community without relying on another team to help us with that. We're also investing in building our own prototyping environment. So we're trying a lot of different tools every single week, but we've not found anything that has kind of 100% met our purpose right now. So Domingo, one of our designers who leads our design infrastructure team, decided he'd just go and build his own instead. So this is a sectioned off place in our React app that exists in production if you know how to get to it. So a designer can now take a branch off of the real Intercom app, the real Fin app, and they can start building with our design system. They can also connect to data. They can also pull in customer data. So when they're making a prototype, it's not only the actual product with the real components from our design system, they can get data as of 10 minutes ago from that customer. So when they have it on the call, it looks real. Because it actually is real to an extent. And yeah, probably got some broken bits in parts and there's a happy path through. But for that, validating that kind of problem they're trying to solve, it's so much better than like a Figma where you've had to go and export loads of data and then you've had to make a version that's specific for that customer. He can just change a user ID string in the background and all of a sudden it's now a different customer when he gets on the next call. That's incredible. And the reality is there's no setup needed either because every designer went through that process of having a dev environment spun up and shipping the PR. So now they can get access to this as well because they've already got that dev environment set up on their machine and they're already used to like a git pull command and a rebase and then a merge and then a deploy. They're used to all of that already because they've gone through that process. So that scaffolding really helped with things like this. But I think most importantly, like all those things aside, I truly believe without this reinvention, without these changes, we couldn't have built Fin as it is today. Like that short-term changeable roadmap, real extreme focus as an organization, like centralized design team, leaders, not managers, kind of Swiss Army knife designers, and then being builders. Everybody's a builder. I ship PRs as well. I build things, I build prototypes. I have an idea. I no longer try and cajole some of my design team to help me bring it to life. I just start to bring it to life as well. Everybody's essentially some form of IC at Intercom. But we're really early. Like we are really, really early still. Like the best ways of working in this era, I don't think exist yet, have not been written. And the role of the designer, as we all know, is changing week by week. And will keep changing for a long time to come. We're at the bottom of this like S-curve of innovation. We're probably not even as far up as that dot. We might be right at the bottom of the hockey stick, like in the neck of the hockey stick. We're going to see a vast acceleration to come in the near future. But if I was to put a stake in the ground, I think this is what the role might look like in the future. Like designers shipping code, like every designer shipping directly to the production of their product, fixing UX debt, fixing bugs, changing content, making content improvements, like continuously improving the experience themselves, like self-owned. The vibe coding the roadmap. So rather than putting a deck together with like a vision piece, they're creating a vision piece that looks and feels, and they're influencing the roadmap direction. So they are both downstream and upstream. They're having more impact on what the things that we're trying to build, and then they're having more impact also on the things we are building. And then I think this is more of an aspiration for the future. I think designers can own the entire front-end experience in a long time to come. Maybe we're not there today. And there is a lot of intricacies that's beyond like scaffolding UI. But I think I have no doubt that like the technology is going to collapse a lot of those problems that we have to get to that point. And that's the playbook that's emerging here at Intercom, like a modern, what I call AI native design team that brings a lot of creativity, a lot of clarity and speed of execution. And there's a little bit more about that bit.ly link in the bottom corner. I wrote a blog post on this a couple of weeks ago. So wrapping up, these are my 5 key takeaways for positioning your team for like the revolutionary period that we're in today. You've got to go all in. It's not about dabbling. It's not about like making tiny changes here and there. You have to go all in and commit to this. And going all in might mean letting go of everything in the past. That was a ginormous moment for my company, and we were probably on the slow road to extinction. If we didn't go all in and completely pivot and change and forget everything we'd done before, we probably would be in a very different position today than we were back then. But you should do that with a lot of optimism. I genuinely believe this is design's renaissance period. I was only talking to somebody just before we got on stage. Like, I think this is the most exciting time to be a designer, certainly in my 20+ year career. Like, we've been given the keys to build. Like, that's amazing. Like, it's the things we've always wanted to be able to do. We can now go and do them. The barrier to entry is so much lower. And then curiosity is going to beat anything right now. Like, no level of experience is going to help you when the new frontier in front of us is yet to be written. You have to be curious. You have to try. You have to want this. You have to really deeply have passion for technology and a passion for completely reinventing yourself and your career and the role that you align yourself to. And that's because we're still so early. Like, the best ways working is still yet to be done. The best opportunities are still yet to reveal themselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thom.
Hey.
I think your talk sparked a lot of curiosity. We have tons of questions on Slido. So I will start with the first one. So I think people were very curious about your definition of a designer, or maybe this kind of new definition.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, lots of new skills, generalist, army knife, coding. Maybe you can expand a bit on that. How do you see?
Yeah, all of those things are applications of design. The role of a designer is still to have a problem, understand the problem, solve the problem. I don't think that changes. It's just the tools and the application of how you go about that is changing. And the breadth of the ability you have to influence that problem that is being solved, and then the solution that is created for that is just getting broader all the time.
Oh, very nice. Should we? Yes, please. Oh, okay. Also here, lots of questions. Okay. Where's the microphone? Can we?
Hey, well, thank you very much. This was amazing. I have 1,000 questions, but one of the things that I've been struggling the most is when you work in this way that you work a bit more project-based than squad-based. One of my favorite things is having that partnership with my PM and my team. How do you deal with that when you're centralizing the design team and not decentralizing it?
Yeah. Honestly, that is one of the biggest issues with this. Like, you don't have consistent PMs or consistent engineers that you work with. So you have to build those relationships faster. We index a lot of in-person time. We index on like we put a lot of effort into like the kickoff period for that. And we'll often get like a team together for a week at a time or 2 weeks at a time in person to start that kickoff period. So they start to build those relationships and that understanding of the problem space. Intercom's also not that big an organization. It's about 1,200-1,300 people. We're actually smaller than we were when we were building Intercom, and now we're building Fin. So it's not impossible still at our scale to know everybody in those different orgs. I know most of the PMs, I don't know all the designers, most of the engineering leaders. It's possible for people to still have relationships, but it is a problem. Like, it is a problem when you swap and change your partner. Most often, we don't have like a silver bullet solution for that.
Well, how long does a project last? Because you said
that's a great question. So some work streams have been going for a year. Some work streams last 2 weeks. There's nothing really ever been less than 2 weeks. It's probably not worth solving if it's less than 2 weeks.
Yes.
Okay.
How do you decide which are the problems that are worth solving?
Yeah, that's another great question. So ultimately, one person makes the final call, but takes a lot of inputs. In the past, we would have had road mapping took 12 weeks for every half. So almost half of a half was spent talking about the next half, which is crazy when you think about it. Takes a lot of inputs. But ultimately, one person makes the call. They take a lot of input from research. We have a research team and a data science team. Take lots of inputs from the vibe-coded kind of prototype vision pieces that designers are taking. So we table all of those, and people share them and start to play with them and understand the possibilities. And they're often linked to like this research insight that we got that says this could be a problem that's worth solving, and this is how we might solve it with a prototype. So ultimately, there's a lot of kind of like conversations and back and forth, but one person makes the call. Okay. Which is the key thing.
I like that. Thank you.
Should we take one last question, please? But Thom will stay here, right? So we have in the afternoon a longer networking break.
Okay. Yeah, I'll hang around there.
Yes, So Thom, you can meet him outside later for more questions.
Hi, Thom. Also, Thom here. I have a business question. You mentioned at the beginning that you're thinking about concierge-style business, including closing deals with your product. Now, Maurizio mentioned some aspects that I picked up at the beginning, meaning trust and risk. I would add one more, liability. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's a really great question. Like there is a lot of hurdles to get over with these tools. We are very transparent about the fact that this is an agent, not a human, trying to do any of those things, and we purposely ensure that we don't dress up Finn as a human. And it has a name. Finn is an Irish name. Intercom's an Irish company, so that's where the name comes from. But we are very transparent about the fact this is an agent. We also have a lot of guardrails in place in the background. So we have a lot of guidance, and our procedures that Finn's able to take action on through like MCP connections are incredibly well defined. And then they have simulation tests that run automatically in the background to ensure, like AI is probabilistic by nature, so it'll have different outcomes if you run it multiple times. The simulations run through that, and we continually kind of improvement. That's that OODA loop that I talked about earlier, the analyze, train, test, and deploy. Our customers are now continually perfecting that experience. And they also run things like A/B tests or version control. So they have, this might only go out to a subset of customers, or it might go out to like a very low end of the market customer rather than a high end of the market, because there's a lot of controls and kind of manipulation in place to allow that to be safer. But ultimately, you could have a rogue salesperson as well. Like the same thing can happen with a human. Like I listen to a lot of Gong sales calls. There's some fucking rogue salespeople in my company that say things that just aren't true about the product. Like they just make things up because they're incentivized to close the deal in that moment at that time. They're like, oh yeah, this is definitely coming on the roadmap. It's never been discussed. It's not on the roadmap. Like it's absolute bullshit. But like it closed the deal for them. So the same can happen with the human as well. Humans aren't infallible.
All right, then thank you so much, Thom.
Thanks.
We go for a short break now.